Hello, a very good afternoon and welcome back to We Are Careers. Now, with so many job titles and industries out there, how do we go about demystifying the world of work for young people, or for that matter, anyone in general? Now, this is the topic that we're going to be picking up with today's guest, who is joining us all the way from Australia. So more on that dedication later in the show. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. This is the We Are Careers show. This is your fortnightly CPD snippet for those of us working in the career development sector. For those who haven't met me before, I'm Chris Webb. I'm a higher education careers professional and member of the CDI, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Sabiha. So, Sabiha, a very happy Wednesday to you. How are you doing this week?
Thank you. I'm doing really good. The sun is actually shining. So I know we were just talking to Lucy before we went live what the weather was like. And she was like saying, oh, it's gloriously hot. And I was like, oh, I can't wait till it gets warmer here in the UK. So where are you? Welcome viewers as well. Where are you watching us from right now? Is it sunny? Is it raining? What part of the world? We'd love to hear from you. So please join in to the conversation. You can use the chat box feature if you're watching either in the Facebook community or you're watching on LinkedIn. Welcome, welcome, welcome to all of our regular viewers. It's great to have you here. But also, as well, as Chris mentioned, if you're new to the show, welcome. And today we're going to be talking about, with so many job titles and industries out there, how can we demystify the world of work for young people and, just general job seekers alike? This is the question that we're going to be tackling with today's guest, Lucy, who's from Study, Work, Grow, all the way from Australia. Now, if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, make sure that you do if you're watching us on YouTube or LinkedIn. And make sure you hit that bell button as well, just so that you make sure that you get the regular notifications so that you never miss out on any of these shows. Because if you're anything like us, you're all busy professionals working hard in whatever area of a specialism that you're working in, and it can be quite easy to sort of kind of miss those. For those of you that don't know me, I'm known as Meet Sabiha, and I work internationally helping young professionals get unstuck and get back into career flow without the stress. And I'm also the creator of the I Am Thriving Career Coaching Program, where I work with and I help international coaches help their clients create even more powerful transformations without wasting resources on time and tools that don't work. Now, before we get into the heart of the show today, I know that we're going to celebrate and do our hashtag careers cheers. And so I want all of you that are watching live, or perhaps you're watching on the replay, to join in the comments thread and celebrate with us. So Chris, the hashtag careers cheer, who's on our cheers for this week, and what are we and who are we celebrating?
Yeah, thanks, Sabiha. I mean, I think first cheers have got to go out to a very kind of international flavour of not only guest but audience today. We've got people kind of commenting so far where they're coming from. We've got somebody watching all the way from India, so that's fantastic. Great to hear that you're joining us. So we've got all sorts of different time zones represented, which is lovely. So careers cheers for this week. Just kind of two short ones. First one is the one that we keep coming back to, because again, it's a really important prompt for us, which is just a reminder about the Careers Impact hashtag. So again, if you've not come across this before, this is something that the Career Development Institute are kind of championing, which is a way to sort of share the inspirational stories from different career development professionals about the way that we support clients, or the way that we've worked with other stakeholders as part of the things that we do. So if you've got a particular inspirational story you want to share, then the hashtag to use is Careers Impact. You can share that through any of the different social media platforms, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. Tag the CDI, make sure they know that you're sharing it, and they'll also be able to kind of replicate that and share that far and wide. So we're trying to collect as many of these inspirational case studies as possible, which leads us very nicely to our second careers cheers. Which is for Janet College. So this is a bit of a personal one, I have to say. This is a bit biased here. I'm giving this shout out because I recently listened to two of Janet's contributions on BBC Radio. I think one was Radio London, one was Radio Worcester. Maybe Janet can correct me there. But advocating on behalf of the careers profession, discussing both apprenticeships during National Apprenticeship Week and primary careers before that, when the new primary careers pilot for the UK was announced. And again, it's great to kind of have people who are there on those sort of wider platforms, not just kind of educating the radio host, but all the listeners that are kind of hearing that broadcast about careers work, and how it's much broader, much more holistic, and much more complex than perhaps we often get given credit for. So yeah, big shout out to Janet. Those are our careers cheers for this week. And of course, as always, if you've got other careers cheers you'd like to share, make sure you ping them over to Sabiha and I before the next show, and we will ensure that your nominated person, group, or organisation gets that shout out. Back to you.
Oh, fantastic. And I love the career shows. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the work that Janet does. So it's great to hear about her being credited and the fabulous work that she's doing. And, as Chris mentioned, if you do have any stories for us, hit us up on LinkedIn. That's our sort of kind of favorite platform that you can find us on. But let's get into today's show. And today, what we're going to explore is how can we demystify the world of work for young people? And it gives me great pleasure, and I'm really excited to sort of kind of have Lucy come in. So Lucy, can you tell us a little bit about your role and the work that you do with Study, Work and Grow?
Yeah, I definitely can. And look, thank you so much for having me, inviting me along today. With Study Work Grow, we work with over 500 schools in Australia, and we're really focused on providing very time-poor careers advisors within a school environment with lots of different resources, so then they can get on with the business of having conversations with their young people, and they can use our resources to back up those conversations. And one of the things that we noticed, we've created a career education program so they can deliver our program in their schools, and they kept coming back to us and saying that one of these problems was how do we talk about jobs and work? It's not really getting through, and we need some sort of new language. So we spent a bit of time. We looked at some of the research that had been done around how we can use different language and different ways of grouping work. And we ended up with these career clusters, which really, they take a holistic view of the way we work rather than looking at just a set of job description or just a set of tasks or even a set of technical and transferable skills. They kind of bring all of that together, put it into one package, and we can see how people group together in these quite dynamic clusters, sometimes across multiple clusters, to understand how they work and how they can thrive. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks, Lucy. Very good potted introduction there. We're going to be digging into it a little bit more. And I don't want to kind of embarrass you, but again, just want to give a massive shout out to the fact you are representing us, or representing Australia, I should say, at 10 p.m. So there, we really appreciate you giving that time. And I know a lot of our UK-based careers professionals are more connected now with the work of Study, Work, Grow and the career clusters, particularly through LinkedIn, and engaging through LinkedIn. So I think a really good starting point perhaps is for those of our viewers who maybe are less familiar with the concept. How is it kind of working in practice? So, how do the career clusters kind of work, and sort of how I guess careers professionals using them to have those kind of better conversations around work?
You're right, Chris. It is all about conversations. So the career clusters are a concept. They're a way of thinking. They're not necessarily, written in stone. And what we're seeing is that careers advisors and career practitioners are using them in ways that work with their clients and their young people. So we have adult clients who are using them in those one-on-one conversations. Maybe if they're leaving one career and starting to move into another, to unpack some of the things and some of the ways of working that they've used in one field, and then look at how we can use that within that same sort of cluster in maybe something else that they want to work in. So with the clusters, what we talk about is it gives you the ability to know which cluster you're in, and then to have an interest area and kind of bring those two things together and start the conversation with both of those in mind. Because often it is that starting place of conversation that's hard to kind of get to.
So let's kind of break those down a little bit. What I'll do is I'll flash up my screen, if that's okay, and we can kind of show the Career Clusters website for those who've kind of not seen it. How did you, I guess, first of all, come to the decision around the 6 clusters? And can you tell us a little bit about each of them and sort of roughly how they work in terms of kind of facilitating those conversations?
Yeah, I think 6 is a really good number. I know we're not the first people to come up with 6 separate groups within this space. It's enough that you've got a bit of diversity, but it's not too much that it becomes overwhelming. We looked at how people are working and those holistic ways of working now, but what we're predicting people will be doing more in the future as well. So it's moving out of those quite static, rigid, linear jobs of the past, moving towards a much more dynamic, flexible way of working. So there are 6 clusters, and each of them represent a different way of working. The Guardians are really focused on people and healthcare and wellbeing, and they include people like your nurses and your doctors, but other people who are interested in wellbeing, so fitness trainers, OH&S officers, so occupational health and safety. We have makers, who are people who make things happen, and these are the people who usually they perform repetitive, they operate a lot of equipment. They're actually making things happen. So They include tradespeople, but they also include people like pilots who operate great big aircraft. We've got coordinators who manage everything and keep things happening and make things happen. So sometimes they're doing quite entry-level data entry sort of administration roles, all the way through to senior managers, CEOs, those kind of high-level executives we pop within clusters, the coordinators. We have informers who are people who've got a really large amount of knowledge about one subject area, and then they use that knowledge to help other people. And a lot of educators and people within our space tend to fall within that informer kind of area. Accountants, lawyers, even dive instructors and horse whisperers. So anyone who's using that really specific large amount of knowledge to help someone else falls into informer. Innovators, we've actually grouped everyone who uses innovation, creativity, design, engineering into the one cluster. Particularly moving forward, we're seeing that so much of design is now, even if the end product isn't based in technology, they're using technology in that design process. So we've got software developers in there with graphic designers and fine artists. And the last cluster on linker, is that the last one? So linkers are people who they're really good at connecting people together. So sometimes that means that they might be supporting someone to find another support service that they need or a product that they need. It might be a tour guide helping someone understand a new space that they're in, a flight attendant helping someone have a great flight. They're just really involved in supporting other people to find the things that they need. So what we're finding is that we tested everything with about 14, 15-year-old young people in Australia. And they tend to be within sort of one cluster, but then as they grow and they get through life and, we reach sort of mid-career, people tend to be within 2 or 3 clusters, and they're really able to work across a couple of different ways of working. But they might have some that they're not quite so strong in. So I'm definitely not a maker. I can't change the light bulbs and fix the car. That is not my area. And it's good that I know that, because then I don't try and do any of those things in my work. I just leave that to someone else. So.
Yeah. I love that. And just sort of kind of picking up, okay, so we just want to say hello to a few people that are just kind of popping into the newsfeed. We've also got someone else, another fellow Aussie. I don't know who it is because it just says LinkedIn news. It says, hey, great to be here, fellow Aussie. So once Chris is already asking, so thank you. There you go, Facebook user. Can you please share the website link? You've clearly got Lucy people interested and intrigued in, this concept of the career clusters. And then we've got people watching from Norfolk. Welcome. Danielle, it's a good question. Danielle, are we answering this question for you? Use the chat box. Let us know. Are you getting more clarity as Lucy shares her insights, her experiences of the work that she's doing? Hello, Catherine. Great to see you here today. Pooja from India. We've got Stephen from rainy Oxted in England. So welcome. It's great to see you. One question I do have, and I am going a little bit off script today, and I know that some of the viewers that will watch the show will no doubtably ask me this in a private conversation, or they'll DM me, which is what sort of and this is for probably the geeks out there. If you're a theory geek and you like to know sort of the back end of how these kind of concepts and ideas come about. Lucy, where did this sort of what's the research and the data? What are you basing the career clusters concept around? What's the sort of research behind it, Lucy? You could share that with us.
Yeah, sure. So we're looking at a lot of career construction theory, really pulling into that narrative. How do we speak about our careers? How do we tell stories about what we do and who we are? And, that all ties into our vocational identity. We've done a lot of work with looking at how young people, even primary school and younger, a lot of Tristram Hooley's work, I know he was on last week, about how those really, they're starting to build that vocational identity and the language that they're using at those early days.
Yeah.
We're fortunate within Australia, we have a group called Foundation for Young Australians, and they did these fantastic sets of reports in about 2016, 2017 that are well worth reading no matter where you are in the world. They're called the New Work Order series. And they did a lot of research and looked at a lot of different data to unpack how work occurs and how young people feel about work. And one of the things that they did is they looked at about 60,000 job descriptions, And they use machine learning to sort of really unpack those into technical and transferable skills. And a lot of that work forms the basis of how we ended up with our 6 clusters. So there is a lot of research that's kind of gone into them. That being said, they're a conversation tool, and we've come up with them, but we don't own. We don't own that concept. Everyone can then go off and do what they like with it and make what they will of it. And we're hopeful and excited to see how other people apply the career clusters within their work and the research that other people are doing as well within this space. So wanting it to be robust.
I love that. Oh, go on, Chris. Go on. You come in.
I was just going to say, it's a really nice segue
Yeah.
very quickly to the survey itself, because again, in addition to the research that you did, obviously, in order to kind of craft the clusters, I know at the moment you're trying to kind of gather a bit more data on where people put themselves in those clusters, not just young people, but also kind of adults in work as well. So we have got the link to share with that, but I wondered if it might just be useful just to explain a bit more about the work you're doing there, and we'll share that to make sure if people want to find out what cluster they fit into, they can share that too.
Yeah, definitely. At the minute, we've got 2 big things happening with the clusters. So we have made them free for educational use. So that means for schools, universities, not-for-profits, people who are working with young people, they're free. And you can go to Point Education and apply for verification. All we're doing is just checking that you're definitely an educational institution, and then we set you up. And that is great. And we've got well over 200 schools and universities and different groups who are using the educational version now. And I'll talk a little bit, I think Chris will talk about that in a minute. But the adult, what we're trying to do is we're trying to talk to people who are mid-career. We're trying to talk to people who have had some experience and what's their journey looked like. I tried to find some data around the journey from what we call subject selection. So for your A-levels, probably that like senior schooling subjects, through to post-school vocational or university choices, higher education choices, and then on into their careers. And what does that journey actually look like? Because trying to find data around that is quite tricky. And then applying that within the clusters as well. So saying, if we know this about your career and we know which cluster you're in, we know what does all that look like and what does that mean? And so what we're hoping is that we're going to, hopefully we've had well over 300 adults already share their career journeys. And that's so powerful, because then with that data, we can use it to inform the support and the resources that we then provide to schools, so they can then have those conversations with young people. So I know, Chris, we spoke earlier. I said I've got lots of informers, but I'm looking for makers and linkers and other people in different fields as well.
Well, and it's been quite interesting. So I know myself, a few other careers professionals have taken the career clusters quiz, and I think maybe sort of went in with preconceptions about what we thought might come out. So I think for me, I sort of thought, yeah, okay, there's going to be informer in there. There's going to be linker, definitely. I consider myself very much a linker. But I was quite surprised that I came out as 80% innovator. And then when I actually thought about it, I thought, well, actually, yeah, the job I'm doing at the moment, a lot of it is piloting new projects, piloting new ideas. It's the thing that makes me quite excited. But actually, yeah, a lot of that then does resonate. But I suppose it's kind of identifying the bits that you don't always think about, or maybe where there's crossover with the clusters that perhaps you hadn't considered before. So I think it'd be really interesting to see what sort of people come back with, and we'll make sure we flash the survey link up on the screen again. But yeah, I know on LinkedIn, a lot of people saying that they found it really interesting to kind of have a look at that and see where they sort of overlap.
And just to sort of kind of add to that as well, Chris, you're talking about how you've used it and how it sort of kind of surprised you. So not only can you use it yourself as a career professional, regardless of what setting you're working in, it can also be then used with your clients as well. So as Lucy said, this is a great piece of research, and it's always good, because I don't think any one of us has had a career that just went from there to there. It's always that higgledy-piggledy line, and for some of us, we've left the sector, we've come into the sector, we've come from doing something else, and then we've come into the sector. What's that look like? So yeah, to know that there's people out there researching this, collecting the data, so that, we can help, the next generation of job hunters, or even sort of if you're career transitioning, to be able to help make more informed decisions. Is a fantastic tool. I've got a couple of questions that I want to come into before I kind of come to my final question for today. And the first question that I want to come to is from Karen. Karen said, I love the careers cluster. Is it possible for independent careers advisors? And I think you've kind of touched upon this a little bit, Lucy, for independent careers advisors to access resources for the young people that she and her team are working with.
Yeah, so it is. They've got to go through that verification process just so that we know who they are and how they're going to be using it. And then what we do is we set them up so they've got their own login, and then they can see their data. And as they're using it with clients, they can see kind of the proportions that they're getting. It's particularly great in the school. So some of our schools have started to have, 300 or 400 of their students go through the quiz. They can see, I've got a large proportion of coordinators. I'm going to try and bring in some coordinators to talk to those people, those young people. So yes, it definitely is available for independent careers practitioners who are working with young people. Just got to go through that process.
So and is there a cost? Oh, sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, just for the verification process. So I know we've got sort of self-employed careers practitioners, maybe slightly different model to Australia, which I know they're more kind of schools based, as you've told me before, Lucy. So if perhaps they've not got that school email, but they are subcontracted by the school to deliver, are they? How would that work with the verification process? Is that easy enough for them to still be able to share the details and get signed up?
Yeah, it will be interesting to see with the UK system, because here we have careers advisors in schools, which is awesome. So they're employed by the schools. That's fantastic, because then the schools keep that student data as well. We're really, really aware of student data and who owns that. So if there's an independent career practitioner in the UK who's working with one particular school set, we'd want to make sure that school's data is being kept for that school, and that they can separate that out. So, but that's easy for us to do. We just set them up with different codes and things. So, and there isn't a cost. At the end of the day, we're a social enterprise. We make some money out of our career education programs, and we'd love for schools to take them up. They're really cost effective for a school, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to give people a way to talk differently, to speak differently about careers, and we don't want to put a barrier on that. We just want it to be made available and free for anyone working in education to access.
Got it. Oh, that's great. Thank you, Lucy, for that. Karen, I hope that answered that question. And if you've got any more follow-ups, let us know in the chat box. And then just one final question that I'm going to come to, which is Rachel. Said, hi, Lucy, do you use a platform to illuminate labour market information for young people?
We're really fortunate in Australia that our government provides an absolutely fantastic set of labour market information websites. They've just been updated, and I know they're in the process of being updated again. That information is incredibly detailed, and they're pulling in things that we can't pull in. So we don't have a platform that provides that kind of labour market information because it's available there. If you don't, I don't know if you have that kind of support available in here.
We don't know where Rachel's from, so I don't know. I mean, it could be, and I don't want to make any assumptions.
It's a mixed bag.
So
but then the clusters are about, so what we're finding with our schools is that they will localize it to their specific community. So when we've created some slides and some videos so they can deliver some background about the career clusters, they can talk to their students about what they are before they do the quiz. But then those slides are editable, and they're localizing it. So they're saying, this is great, but in our local community, we have a higher proportion of these particular clusters. Or if you're in this cluster, you might then go and work in the local agricultural industry or tourism industry or whatever it is. And that's how we've designed things so that you are the experts in your space with your labour market. You have that information and that data, and you are more than welcome to localize everything that we've created for that space.
And that's great from Rachel's just mentioned there, using Lightcast. So Lightcast, I would say, is one of the better sort of LMI kind of sources that we do have in the UK. But there was a bit of a shout out there, Lucy, for Australian LMI resources are amazing. So a lot of jealous UK careers practitioners probably watching this.
And Karen also said as well, thank you, Lucy. You answered a question, #HappyCareersAdvisor. So I think as we wrap up the show today, because we are now to the end of this segment of the show today, I want to say a big thank you to Lucy for joining us today. And for those sort of kind of viewers that are watching either live or on the replay, that are fired up now, that are excited, that are intrigued in the careers cluster concept, want to get more information, want to maybe experiment, want to maybe try it out with the client group that they are working with, Lucy, where's the best place that people can find you? And also as well, have you got anything sort of upcoming in the next few weeks and months that people can also kind of tap into so they can follow your journey and the work that you're doing at the moment?
Yeah, so a couple of things there. So first one is, if you want to follow the journey, the best place to do that is my LinkedIn. I can only manage so many social media channels at once, and that seems to be the place where I am. So if you follow me on LinkedIn, then you'll hear what's coming up with the career clusters. The second is, if you're an adult or you'd like to share your career journey, or you know some groups of people who might want to take part and help us with that data, then that's thecareerclusters.com. And there is a little section at the start of the quiz where they can share their career journey. And maybe share that in your networks as well, particularly if you know people who aren't just in the career space. Please feel free to share that. And then the last one is with Ponder. So Ponder is our career education program. Ponder.education is where you can go and get the career clusters for an educational institution. Please register. It's been so thrilling to see all these different people. We've had universities from all over the world and schools from all over the world, Spain and India and Singapore. And yeah, it's just been fantastic. So if you want to have a look at what's there and want to see if it might suit your students or your young people, then yeah, please apply for verification.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Lucy. And that's it. That's the end of this segment of the show today. Before we head on over to the news, I want to thank Lucy once again for joining us today. Also our viewers for your comments, engaging, but continue this conversation. Remember, this show, as Chris says always at the start of the show, is that it's a snippet of CPD to get sort of conversation flowing on the various topics that we explore with you, our guests, but also you, the viewers as well. So thank you so much. So I'm going to kickstart off the CDI news stories for today, and then I'm going to hand over to Chris to cover the sort of general CDI news. So what have I selected for this week's news? So if you missed it, earlier this month, the Chief Executive update, we got to hear about the Fair Futures strand of the 2025 strategy that Ifsa Shakur and David Morgan have been working on. They hosted, I think it was in total, 7 workshops in January, exploring different aspects of diversity. And they are hugely grateful to all the excellent speakers who shared their personal journeys at the start of the session, and for the many attendees who made each one a great discussion. Now they're capturing the issues and the ideas raised, and you can request a copy of all that data and information that's been collected from IFSA, and you can find her contact details on the CDI website. Now these workshops are a key step in the development of the CDI's equality, diversity and inclusion strategy, which they're going to be working on over the next few months. So if you yourself or you know somebody else who would like to contribute, like to share more ideas, there are a couple of ways that you can do that. One, you can reach out on email or on social media platforms with David and IFSA. Also as well, you'll be happy to hear to know that David will be at the CDI SAN at the UCAS Teachers and Advisors Conference in Birmingham on the 6th and 7th of March. Along with other members of the team, David also will be at the CDI stand at the National Career Guidance Show in London on the 8th of March. And there's also going to be a CPD clinic staffed by the CDI's 2 professional development leads, Claire Johnson and Sue Adler as well. So please do reach out to anyone on the team to share your input, because the CDI do want to hear and have a sort of really broad perspective around sort of equality, diversity for the inclusion strategy. Then my story number 2 is the National Careers Leader Conference for 2023 is now open for booking. Booking is now open. It is going to take place on Tuesday, the 27th of June at the University of Derby on the Derby campus. You can save £20 on tickets when you buy a joint ticket for the conference and the UK Careers Development Award, which is going to be taking place at the same location on the 26th. Oh no, sorry. The event, let me correct that. The UK CDI Careers Development Award will be taking place on the 26th of June at the Hilton East Midlands Airport. Again, all information about the programme and keynote speakers are going to be made available very soon. You can head on over to the CDI website to get the latest updates. And then finally, each week, each month, the team at the CDI release and update us with a whole varied programme of CDI training. And no doubt this month and next month, there is a whole ton of innovative and just diverse topics and themes that are coming up. And one that sort of kind of stood out to me was developing the talent pipeline for the career development sector. And that's going to be taking place on the 20th of March between 4:30 and 5:30 p.m. And that's going to be led by Caroline Green and Claire Johnson. And they're going to be hosting the meeting to discuss how we as the sector can make it a more fulfilling place to be for another 100 years and beyond. Now, I will say that if you are a CDI member, this event is free to join, and there is a small nominal cost if you are not a member. And if you're watching the show right now and you're wondering, oh, the CDI, I'm not a member right now, or what is the CDI? How do I become a membership? Again, all of that information, head on over to the CDI website. There's information on there about details of costs and how you can join. So that's my wrap up of the CDI news for this week. Chris, what have you got for us?
Thanks very much, Sabiha. I'll put my there we go, my giant head on the screen so that I can I can feed back. And in case people are wondering, I'm sort of in slightly strange attire today. It's actually our university campus in-person careers fair, the first one we've had for 3 years. So I'm kind of dashing about, and it's very fun. So nice to kind of be seeing people in person again. So yeah, just kind of 3 sort of short news stories to sort of finish the show with. First one sort of comes from kind of connected to National Careers Week. So people will remember ERIC. So ERIC, the kind of Creative Industries Careers Act led by Sam Hornsby and May Yip. They've kind of been promoting a round of kind of creative industry talks, some of which are linked to National Careers Week, some of which are more general, all free, all that can be signed up to by schools and colleges. They look absolutely fantastic, covering all the different aspects of the creative industries, from fashion design to publishing. They've got some great speakers, I think over 100 speakers in total. So really worth checking that out if you're looking for some free online talks as part of National Careers Week, which is coming up in just 2 short weeks. Our second news story, Raj Sidhu, who people may know, careers consultant sort of based in Cambridge, has a really great YouTube channel and an excellent new video all about why following your passion can be bad advice. It's Raj kind of puts together these really nice sort of 4 or 5 minute, very well edited sort of dialogues, I guess, on particular topics of career development, and this is a really good one, so well worth checking it out. And final news story for this week, again, very, very hard to miss this. We've seen the global 4-day week pilot getting a lot of airtime on BBC News and other news channels over the past few days. Lots of positive responses from companies involved in the 4-day working week pilot. I think 18 of the companies are keeping the sort of proposal permanently, and well over 80% have said it's something they're going to consider using moving forward. So it's an interesting question as to whether this is maybe a concept whose time has come within certain industries. Obviously, lots of caveats in there. Doesn't necessarily change the way that employees are treated whilst they're there for 4 days, and lots of questions about whether certain industries will even be able to kind of facilitate 4-day weeks. So lots of discussion and debate on this subject within the career development profession moving forward. So those are my news stories for this week. Final thing to say before we sign off is please do join us on Wednesday the 8th of March during National Careers Week. We'll be back at 12 o'clock that Wednesday as normal. We're going to be joined by 2 very special surprise guests, different to the schedule we first put out, so don't miss it. We will be kind of promoting it obviously the week beforehand, and look forward to celebrating National Careers Week with you all. But until then, massive thank you to Lucy for joining us today. Thank you for everyone who's been watching from home or on the recording, whether you've joined us live or not. Thanks to Sabiha, and thanks to myself and both of us for hosting this. We have to thank ourselves. So have a great week, have a great fortnight, and we'll see you all in 2 weeks' time. Take care.